Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, welcome to the three of us. Josh went on vacation, apparently. He disappeared. We're like, where's Josh? He's not picking up his phone. He's like, I'm on a boat. So it is Aaron, and Sean today. We are talking about the new Warhammer 40k announcements. There have been so many, and there are going to be so many more to come. But the big news today is custode rules and what is in the box.
What's in the box?
What's in the
What's
box?
in the box?
And maybe we can even take a look at what was in Aaron's box, if he has it still handy.
I do still have it handy.
Awesome. So we're going to have a special treat for you at the end. We're going to take a look at the Adepticon 2020 swag box, because there were no swag bags.
Not even a bag in the box this year.
Not even a bag in the box.
Interesting.
So where would you like to start? I have Warhammer Community pulled up. I have the preview box pulled up, but I can always hit the back button, and we can start somewhere else. Where do you want to start?
Why don't we start with the unboxing?
All right, let's start.
That looks really cool. I think that's something everyone's going to like.
Start with the unboxing. So we have a picture of the box. And did both of you guys get to watch the live stream or no?
No, I caught all the little videos afterwards.
Yeah. They did directly address why the bikes have wheels.
What'd they say?
Because they want them to look brutal.
What?
Yep, that was the rule. That was the rule. That was what he said. I want them to look brutal, so he gave them big wheels.
You know what made them look brutal if they were flying is having like some body underneath being displaced by like the jets underneath and just like splattering. That's brutal.
So Josh was correct. The photos that he got are the box. But now we know exactly what's in the box. We know a little bit more about the rules. First of all, here's the most important thing about the box. The shield, Captain Shield, does have a full skeleton on it. That has been confirmed. So I'm going to need 9 boxes, I guess. So I have 9 of those shields.
Well, what's really cool is they've upgraded from just putting skulls on everything to full skeletons on everything.
Right. Now it's skulls and skeletons. So, interesting stuff about the Necrons. The Necrons are going to have a lot of support units, and those support units are going to be buffing the skills of the Necrons around them. They have the Reanimator, which is that walking thing, and they have a Cryptek, I believe, that like injects the destroyers with rage or something.
Is that the Blackmancer? Or
yes.
Are you talking about? Okay.
Yes. So I thought that was really interesting that it's going to be a little bit of a shift in how the army worked. So it seems like they're going to make them a little bit weaker overall, but then give them these models. You know, it kind of reminds me of Tyranids a little bit.
Really?
Yeah, with like the Zoanthropes and having the hive mind. You know, it feels like you get a couple. You put a couple guys around and you try to boost them up.
Yeah, force multipliers.
Exactly.
That can be fun.
Yeah, but don't you think that's kind of a huge part of the game? I mean, like, I feel like that's central to almost everything that functions nowadays. You got a guy with a banner, you got the HQ dude, you got his, special squad that can do something.
Yeah, no, that's true.
And, how many guys can I stack together? So, but it's nice to see that, I guess, outside of, in an army where that's not classically the case, right? Because I didn't fight many Necrons in the last edition, but I felt like there were not that many support characters, or if there were, they were underrepresented, rarely used, or only used in very specific situations.
What was it? The orb that gave +1 to reanimation, right?
Yeah, the Overlord with the orb.
Yeah. So
I feel like there's, what were those? The Cryptex I saw a few of.
I think so.
And they did something similar, I think. I'm not, 100% sure, but.
Well, the other thing that they talked about that I thought was interesting is that these Primaris Marines are like questing Marines, right? They're going out to do specific things, and so that's why they have a lot more decorations and why they have more gear and they have more kit, because they are specifically like going into the universe.
Face. They're the ones everyone's seeing, huh?
Exactly. Okay. So we got the standard bearer. I'm just quickly scrolling through. Eradicators, those look really sweet. So we got some heavy weapon marines.
Yeah, did you notice? So we have the giant plasmas.
Yep.
And now we have the giant meltas. Okay. So what's going to be the next weapon that they just like blow up to be even bigger?
Flamers.
Okay, flamers it is.
Nice.
I didn't think you were going to agree with that right away. I thought you were going to be like, no, Aaron, this is what it is.
So it's just going to be a giant flame.
Well, what else is... Oh,
melting their own suit.
We have giant plasma, right? We have giant melta. We have giant bolt guns already, because that was the first ones.
Giant grav guns, maybe?
Maybe giant grav guns. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Did they talk... You know what? I missed the melta. Did they talk about the rules on the melta?
I didn't see anything on them.
The assault squad, which is excellent. I think Primaris Marines with chain swords is going to be great. In my opinion, they were really lacking in the close combat area in terms of kit options and things like that. So I'm excited about that. Of course,
Blood Angels will love it.
Blood Angels are going to love it.
Did you notice like so much of this is melee, get up in your face? Other than the Eradicators, pretty much everything is about getting up in your face on the Primaris side. So I think Blood Angels are going to have a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, it seems they did talk about in the stream today how yes, you can still play on your 6x4 and whatnot. And as we talked about last time, what I kind of noticed is you can play on a board however deep you want to make it. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter because based off their example, the deployment zones are measured off of the center, and all of the objectives were measured off the center, which means you could have a 37-foot wide board. You take it to the center and you make your deployment 12 inches off of it. So now you just have, 35.5 feet of deployment is the bottom line. So I feel like they're like, yes, you can still use it, but it doesn't actually address the thing. Taking a look at the Necrons.
Yeah, in the box, two things I've noticed. Well, primarily Necrons, they're all beat up.
Yep.
Why are they pretty much like them and like, all right, Death Guard? But what other factions are beat up as much as the Necrons look now? Primaris, none of the new Primaris look all beat up. I mean, they have
but I think that it's like it's narrative and rules because they're changing. They're changing the way the Necrons work, kind of fundamentally, which is making them individually weaker, making their reanimation a little bit weaker, but giving them these other models that are going to be out there to bring them back. So it changes the way it works, and I think that makes sense. I don't know if they necessarily had to do that, but it also, when you think about Necrons, they're supposed to be like super old, right? And they're like waking up from their tomb worlds and stuff. So unless they're Ultron manufacturing in Tony Stark's basement, like immediately, it kind of makes sense that they're going to be beat up.
Work. Don't Scarabs like help fix them up a little bit or something? I forget.
No, Scarabs just swarmed all over everything and murdered them.
I thought the fluff was that they were supposed to repair stuff and
possibly I don't know
crawl over stuff. Because if you look inside of some of their bigger models, you see the Scarabs climbing all over, the insides and the guts and those kind of things. But I think that the age, is a huge thing, right? How much effort are you going to dedicate to your basic foot slogging Yahoo if you've got better things to do? So I'm for it.
So they have the Overlord with a big gun, which is kind of cool. And then they have the Plasma Mancer.
And he has his two little sidekicks that have engines for backs.
Correct. Which are so cool. I like these guys a lot. They literally look like the nightmares I have while flying on jet airplanes when I sit at the wing.
Little gremlins
just coming to life. They have the Scorpec Lord, which I still think is the stupidest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. I'm sorry. I know Josh loves it, but it's just like how many different... I don't know. Like,
I'm wondering with that guy if you're going to be able to kit him out with like 3 of the same weapons. So like you can have 3 of the big guns or 3 of the giant axes. That would maybe be cool, but like one of everything, I'm not really down with models that it's just like, oh, he has a little of this and a little of that.
Well, it's
Uh,
interesting, right? Because there's two regular paradigms as far as I see when it comes to special characters. You're either coming with a single weapon, and then you have options to upgrade that, change it, add on additional weapons, so many times. Or
Mhm.
you'll start with 3 of every different kind of weapon, and then you'll be able to upgrade those independently to other items, right?
Right.
So being able to give them the same 3 things, I think, is pretty unlikely considering what they've done in the past. Um, I'm interested to see, can you take him with just one thing, right? You take him with just one thing, you're using him for his buffs, all those good things. You give him a gun, he sits in the gun line. It could be super cool, right? So
maybe.
I'm with Josh. I think the model looks pretty neat,
I mean,
right?
to
It's
me,
different. It's
you know,
different. I
my
like different.
my 5.5-year-old figured 2 things out today, which are very disturbing. One is that he can use Siri to search on Amazon to find toys, and B, that he can add those toys to the cart. And
Uh-oh.
lastly, that
Oh
if
no.
he can just get my thumbprint, then he knows that he can check out. So fortunately, I have the thumbprint blocking it. But I kid you not, today he found this like Nerf remote control robot car that has a camera on it and a Nerf gun on it, and you can drive it around, and then you can shoot mommy in the living room through the video camera, and he wants it, and it's way too expensive. It's like $250. It's like the stupidest cost
Yeesh.
Nerf thing. But he literally came downstairs and he was like, "Oh, Dad, do you think that we could buy this water gun and we could buy this water balloon launcher and we could put them all onto the Nerf robot?" And I'm like, "This is the Necron for you." You know what I mean? Like, so
I don't. I don't know. I'd be pretty happy if that happened to me, right?
no, listen.
I like the options.
All right, you know
Someone was
what?
like, "Hey, I need to ambush mommy and hit her with a water balloon." I'd be like, I can't be involved, but
But you switched that water balloon out for the Nerf gun, and we're fine.
yeah, yeah, just do what
So
you gotta do, little person.
close combat destroyers who walk. I did not see that coming. I did not think that they were going to be a destroyer class.
I think they look pretty cool.
I think they look amazing.
You guys looking at the links you sent over, Aaron? Or are you guys looking at Warhammer Community?
I am Warhammer Community, and I just clicked on what's in the box page, and I am down. I'm down on the destroyer. So they are close combat destroyers. So destroyers are typically like the big guys that floated around on their like little hover butts.
Super lame, but if they got good rolls on the shooting, they just vaporize junk.
Exactly. So now they're tri-legged walkers, with blades for arms.
Yeah, I love the dude who has the 2 blades that he's just kind of like coming at you. Yeah.
They're pretty fun. And then below that we have the snail, as I call it.
Yeah, so that's the one that it looks like it just gives little buffs to probably units of warriors or something, huh?
Yes. No, for the destroyers specifically.
For the
Yeah. And the thing is, the way they described it is, it sounds like it had to make an attack. It sounds like both the reanimator and the plasma site both do their things by making an attack against a friendly model. That's the way it sounded like. And
really?
Yeah. There was like, they said, I don't know, I could just be misinterpreting the word target, but it felt like you'd be like, oh, I'm going to target this unit of destroyers and then make an attack, and if I hit it with my proboscis, then it gets a buff. That's the way it sounded to me. I could be completely wrong with that. But
Okay, so maybe you're shooting him, but does no damage.
right, it gives them a buff. I could be wrong. I'm probably wrong.
How do you feel about that? Just adding more steps you have to go through to make a thing happen in the game, right? Because we were talking about a bunch of rules bloat and complexity that is already kind of bringing itself up, and now you're like, oh, I got to make a bunch of rolls for this to happen. It's kind of already a slowdown to have to go through a psychic phase with a real amount of psychers,
Again, I could be 100% wrong in my interpretation of that, and it could just be a bubble, or it could just be a bubble specific to a type of unit.
Okay.
But
I was going to say it could be just their kind of equivalent of spell casting, right?
Right.
They're not doing any spell
True,
casting,
because they're
so
not
maybe
doing
this
any
is a
spells.
way to like hit things as opposed to just shooting.
I think it's a great idea. I love it. I think it's a fresh new take on the game. It's a way of, honestly, I think what the problem is that if it doesn't go off all the time, then it's not going to be something that's used. But I like that way better than all infantry models get +1 to hit, right? Or something like that, where it's just this
or whatever.
universal
Yeah.
rule. I like that there would be some more complexity and some more randomness to whether or not you actually get off what you need to get off. But that's got to be game wide if it's going to work. But I like it from that sense. I don't like it from the bloat. I think that it is going to get more and more complicated.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm concerned about that, you know, because as we're seeing stuff, there's just little bits of extra things and everything, and that, you know, adds to the character and the flavor. But I mean, it makes the game, you know, harder to play. And the reality is, you know, we're quite honestly probably competing with, like, you know, video games in a certain capacity for people's time, right? In hobby playing game world,
Right.
you know, because I'm like, hey, you play 40K, and they're like, oh, I played Dawn of War and this, that, and the other thing. I was like, oh, you know, which no harm, no foul on those, but you click a button and it happens,
Right.
you know. So there's a very real
Yeah. Yeah.
streamline aspect that people really, really enjoy and really get into the video games, because they get the world, they get the narrative, but they don't have to roll dice and read books, and, you know, the simulation does that for them. So it concerns me a little bit.
Andre says that he really likes the new scarabs. I do too. The old scarabs are all identical, and these have like different sizes, which is really fun. I think they look great.
Really
cool. I didn't see anything. First of all, they said like I didn't see anything that changing with the rules for them, in terms of their battlefield role. So I don't know what's changing. I've always liked scarabs, but I think these scarabs are way better, way better. And then lastly, we got
Absolutely
the warriors. We got the warriors who have 2 guns now, 2 gun options, just like the Primaris. And I think that's great.
Double barrel.
Isn't that the same kind of schematic as the Immortals get? I thought the Immortals got 2 weapons, right? So I wonder if we're going to see like a...
You mean the bigger gun, the double barrel gun?
Oh, you know what? They might all be 2 weapons, maybe 2 weapons. I really thought that they had some options, but again, I don't play Necrons, but I like it, right? And I'm interested to see what their stats are with, you know, the recent changes that have happened. Are they going to keep them where they were? Did they feel like they need to be a little bit better? How does reanimation protocol work?
So
with all this stuff,
it's the reanimation's very confusing, especially with the new unit that's going to give them a boost to reanimator. I don't know. I assume they're going to be slightly worse than Marines because they get to come back. That's my guess.
Oh yeah, they will.
That's my
guess.
And
as long as they put a functional weapon on them, right? Because I mean, I'm sure everybody out there who's played this game remembers the good old days of Gauss inflicting a wound on a vehicle with a 6, and you just glance out anything you ever wanted simply by weight of fire, right? So I wonder if we're going to go back to some sort of, hey, I'm garbage, I can be reanimated, but my gun will really hurt you if you give me the chance to do it, right? So that was kind of the trade-off. It was kind of like a T4 platform that didn't do much but reanimate and glance out tanks.
Andre makes another good point. He hopes that the weapon arms are compatible with his old torsos. I think that's that's a good question.
Yeah, because we all know the travesties of trying to convert or incorporate parts of even like the CSM kit, right? You know, it's just way more work than they were, and we discussed that many times before. But yeah, it should be easy if they kept the sizes relatively similar. You know,
I can tell you that the gun is identical. One of the guns is identical to the old gun, except that the clear plastic part has been replaced with a 4-lobe barrel thing. So if you're going to use the old gun, you're fine. If you're going to use the new gun, probably not fine. That's my guess.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
Book. The book is ginormous.
And yeah, it's a chonker. It's gorgeous.
Whoa.
Cover.
Yeah, it's and they talked about in the live stream. They're like, by the way, the core of the game is still Chaos versus Marines. Like, don't worry, Necrons aren't replacing Chaos. Like, they're just the featured army for this release.
Sure.
And you see that on the cover as well, that Chaos reigns supreme. So yeah, it comes with this giant book. Apparently the book has a lot of pictures, a lot of rules, a lot of fluff. And I'm excited for it. I don't know what else to say about the book.
And it's available in July, the box set at least.
That's
Cool.
That's next month.
Have we heard anything about price for anything? Speculations.
That's
rumors?
what I was going to ask you. So the original, or I should say, the Dark Imperium box was $160, and that had a lot of good value in it.
Mm-hmm.
But this seems like it has a few more big boys in it. Like you got the bikes, you got the War of the Worlds Necron dude. The Lord even looks pretty big. The Scorpec Lord, there's some bigger models in this one, so I'm curious.
I definitely want 2 boxes. I know that.
Are you planning on?
I think you'd have a pretty good, maybe 1,000-point list for both.
Yeah.
Depending on the gear, you might be bigger than that, man.
Yeah.
Because those Space Marines aren't cheap, especially when you get to those characters.
But we don't know what we don't know what they're doing with the points, and I think that the points are going to be a problem in terms of wrapping our head around game size. So I don't know. The box set also comes with a booklet with data sheets, and that has additional lore, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, a little bit of lore on each of the units that are going to come in the box, which is kind of cool.
And then it also comes, which is really nice, it comes with a decal sheet for pretty much every major faction.
You got
Space
Ultramarines, Blood Angels, Space Wolves, Dark Angels, and then you got your miscellaneous markings.
But I will tell you what my most favorite thing about this sheet is. The 1 to 9 number grid. That is a full 1 to 9 number grid in both directions. That makes me so happy. Right here, this is where I'm looking. If you can't see it, this bottom corner in the blue number grid is literally a 1 to 9 number grid with all 99 spaces filled, which is just fantastic. So
the blue box looks cool.
It does. It really does. Is there a link for the custodes? Yes, custodes. Let's talk about the custodes.
Well, all right. I didn't know. Did you also want to talk about the other spoilers of models?
Sure. Let's talk about spoilers. Yeah.
Since we're talking about the models already that hold beyond the box, did you guys see that?
I didn't.
You didn't?
No.
They announced the ATV vehicle.
Really?
No. Yeah. Oh man, I wanted to talk to you about this so it's an ATV. It's got 2 dudes on it. You find that, look at it, tell me that isn't the replacement of a Land Raider. 2 dudes, you got a bunch of guns on it, but to Aaron, to your chagrin, it's taking something that flies and it's putting wheels on it.
You said the Beyond the Box, right?
Yep.
Oh, yeah, there it is. You think that? Nah. It's nah, Aaron. Other Aaron, go find it.
I see it. I see it. Yeah.
That is dope.
That is dope.
But I don't think that's going to replace the Land Raider. I think we're going to see that replacing.
Land Speeder.
Land Speeder.
The heavy attack bikes, right? The ones that have the heavy bolters, the multi-melta. I think that's where they're going with that because there's
wow! Look at the gun, the autocannon gun emplacement.
Yeah.
What?
Right?
How did I miss this?
Little weapons platform. I'm guessing it's probably going to have some sort of forward deploy, but isn't that awesome?
Oh, look at the big fat Necron thing. I'm a big fatter.
The heavy destroyer, right? He's got a big old booty. It looks like.
Oh, I see. I see. These were in the photos, I think. The Necrons were it was in that big army photo. Remember?
Oh yeah, the Locust heavy destroyer.
Dude, I love.
Put out some heavy long range firepower.
I love the autocannon emplacement. I don't know why, but I love it.
It looks really cool. I agree.
And I really like this bike too. Oops, I'm scrolling up and down way too fast. Sorry about that. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I'm digging the bike. I'm digging the bike. It makes me want to see what they're gonna do with, the land speeders and that kind of junk.
So wait,
Um,
how many pounds to a dollar? Pounds,
2.4, something like that last I checked, but that was a while ago.
pounds
Or
to.
maybe
I love it.
1.4?
I love it. Any American who knows pounds is because they buy Games Workshop. I don't know. 120 pounds is only 150 bucks. 150 bucks
Oh, so
seems
you're probably like 1.1 then.
seems a bit low. We're at 1.25 right now. But
Oh,
that
okay.
it's really down. It's way down.
Well, that makes sense considering,
Do you think $150 is how much they're going to sell that box for?
No, I think it's gonna be more.
I think we're going to be looking at 200, 250. I think we'll be really lucky if we don't hit that $300 mark with how much
Oh, you
stuff's
think
in
that
there.
much? I was thinking probably two.
What did I buy? I bought a box. How much was Shadow Spear?
Yeah, but here's the thing.
Shadow Spear was 175?
But it doesn't matter. It
185?
doesn't
It was a
matter. It
lot.
doesn't matter because like some of that stuff is for existing players to get more stuff, and this is for entry into the. This is like selling the PlayStation for $100 and then selling the games for 70. Right? It's like buy the PlayStation so you buy our games. This box set is they want to draw people in, and 100 like that's a really good deal for 150 bucks to get
Yeah,
started. If that's
absolutely.
if it's 120 pounds.
Well, because simply look at it this way, right? Always go back to your basic Marine box. How much is a Marine box right now? 50, 55? That's 30 basic guys, right? For essentially the same amount. You're getting more than 30 guys. You're getting not basic guys. You're getting all sorts of,
Right.
different stuff. They're not going to be as
But it's two armies,
customizable.
right? It's
Yeah,
two.
yeah, exactly. So you just buy one and you trade with your buddy. If you don't, like me, Necrons, I get it. I'm gonna trade those Necrons for another half of it. Normally, I just go in with someone else.
Right.
We split it. I get all of,
Okay,
two
so
sets
I'll buy
essentially for the
two
price.
boxes with Josh. I'll buy one box with you. Oh wait, but we both want the Marines, so that doesn't work.
Yeah, but Josh wants the Necrons, right?
Josh wants the Necrons. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you
So we
gotta convince Josh to split 3 boxes.
Yeah, he'll be fine. He'll love that.
Sure.
And then he'll flip it and he'll make,
Yeah.
Yeah.
way
We'll
more.
work it out.
So it looks like one person on the chat says it looks like the Halo Warthog, and it kind of does, and I immediately want to convert it into that.
Right. I've seen on Shapeways, I've seen some Master Chief helmets that you can do head swaps with.
I mean, didn't they make a Halo miniature game?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's going to be the same scale though.
Yeah.
They also made they made like a fleet Halo game with like the ships
Yes.
fighting each other. That
Yes.
looked super cool. Never played it. But yeah, spaceships are fun.
All right, let's jump back to custodes.
Custodes.
I think the custode rules are stupid good.
I mean, they look pretty good to me.
Specifically, the stratagem that lets you fall out of combat, shoot assault charge back into combat.
So I agree with you on that, right? Because it eliminates some of the other players' ability to control what's happening. During the phases of the games, we're not quite sure exactly how everything's going to play out. But yes, what I think is going to happen is you're going to see. I mean, we were only using it once, right? So there's a little bit of restriction on it.
Right.
But when you get all those special characters buffing all those dudes, and then you go ahead and you split those Blood Angels in there, so you're getting buffs off all that junk as well, and then you throw in, your soup type stuff. I think that we're going to see that just turn into a serious headache, right? For anybody who's fighting against custodes.
How about the stratagem that removes all negative modifiers when you hit?
Crazy. That's crazy.
Right.
That's
removes all negative hit, wound, armor penetration, and benefit for the saving throws.
And both of those were for 1 CP, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so you're not even getting taxed to like face murder someone. You're just paying the regular good price.
I think that pretty much everything here, I think that their relics are amazing. Like, I think that this is really good. And then being able to just finally put the Sisters of Silence with them, which you've needed to be able to do forever, is absolutely amazing because the Sisters of Silence are super badass. They're a little bit cheaper in terms of model price that lets you buff out the custodes, and that's going to be a big deal.
Yeah, being able to have that that cheaper infantry to hold objectives and do whatever, while your big golden dudes are running down the field is going to be really, really important. The thing that stuck out to me about the rules,
Yeah.
the command, the stratagem, sorry, 1 CP that allows you to select a model in one of the units, and he can heroically intervene like a character. Sounds really straightforward, right?
And
Really,
it's so confusing.
No. It's freaking phenomenal because you can take one of your regular dudes, right, who's already pimped beyond all belief because we're custodes and we pay a whole lot of money for him or a whole lot of points, and you can use him like a character. So now what you're doing is you're getting the ability to go ahead and really affect someone's entire assault phase, right? You do your super important assault, it's really cool, you do whatever it is you need to do, and I throw this extra guy in there who's tough as a freaking rock, and just
But
it has the potential to be used correctly to absolutely screw up an assault.
But how does it leave combat coherency?
No, it doesn't. It gets to act like a hero in heroic intervention. So you can't heroically intervene if you're already in combat range, right? So this is someone who you took your models and you were very careful and you assaulted the unit next to him because you knew you could take him and you had all the buffs and and you didn't mess with John. Well, my name is Aaron and I'm going to mess up your day and I'm going to use this stratagem and John is going to come out
I understand that, but how does he actually get to leave the unit?
No, it says select one custodes unit. It says unit, not character or not individual. It's a full
not
unit.
Model.
Not okay. Model. It's unit.
Read it again to us, Aaron. Read it again, because I'm telling you, man, this is crazy.
One custodes unit from your army more than 1 inch away from an enemy model, and this is during the opponent's charge phase, right?
Yep.
That unit can immediately perform a heroic intervention as if it were a character, but must finish one of the move, within 1 inch of.
Custodes are, unless the point value of custodes is that you only get to take 5 of them, then custodes are broken. They're broken because they're like, that isn't like, so you can heroically intervene and do some smackdown. A whole unit, do some smackdown, and then on your turn, assuming that unit wasn't completely annihilated, you can withdraw, spend the stratagem point, and either charge back in or charge in another direction that you need to put them. I mean, that is crazy.
Yeah, it's gonna be brutal, and you're gonna see that happen, man. I mean, like we saw a lot of custodes when they first came out, and especially kind of in the funsies circles. They were huge because you could just...
Well, the bikes.
No, all of it, man. I can't tell you how many times people brought entire Custodes armies to my Apocalypse games, and they were just invincible. Like, there's nothing to do about them, especially when you get up to that really, really large point cost, or the allowance, the army size. It's nuts. It's nuts. And then you go ahead and start giving them stuff like this. Again, you're going to be able to, a tactically astute opponent is going to be able to go ahead and take those rules that we just talked about and stick them in just the right place and win a game.
Absolutely.
For 2 CP.
Absolutely.
Right?
And I like that they also now let you build your shield captain into a commander. And you can either add 2 wounds or you can have it deal with hordes by adding 2 attacks. I like that. That's nice. It needed that because I didn't really have a leader.
I want to see that kind of stuff from the rest of my Marines, right? Because especially for how many lieutenants, and captains we have and all that fun stuff, and they've classically been the coolest dudes that we bank a lot of. I have more lieutenants than I could ever possibly use. I have more captains and chapter masters than I could ever possibly use. But if I was able to go ahead and make a character who had certain additional attributes, right, customized to, reflect those attributes, whatever they were, I'd have a bunch of different guys that were super different and had different rules, and would do what they do, something more than just the equipment. So I'm with you, man. I really enjoy that possibility to affect the stat line.
So I think what might be the most important reveal in the Custodes, though, is how the Null Maidens, the Sisters of Silence, get put into any Imperial Force Org slot by having a battlefield role that costs 0. And I think that that's how they're going to control Soup, and I really like that. That they are going to come out with specific armies or specific units or specific battalions and detachments that will let you carefully place things together, but not just randomly place whatever you want together.
So you're saying, and I don't have it up in front of me, but if I remember correctly from reading through, it said, if you decided to use these, Sisters of Silence, you could add some sort of detachment without them counting against your force organization.
I'll read it to you. It says a Sister to Silent Vanguard detachment. This is a Vanguard detachment, right? So it already has restrictions because it's Vanguard. It's not patrol. It's not battalion. It's not HQ. Yep. You can't go, oh, I'm going to take an HQ of Custodes and spread their invulnerability 5-up fields all across my entire army, right? No. It's a Vanguard detachment, and it says, is treated as having HQ battlefield roll slot of 0. So you remember when we went back to that, when we go back to the force org chart, and it says the size game that we're playing, right? And it tells you how many detachments you can take. So this costs 0 in terms of determining that. It has no command benefits, and that means that there's no compulsory HQ selections for Sisters of Silence. So essentially what they're saying is you can make a 0-slot Vanguard detachment of Null Maidens, and you can add them to whichever Imperium force, and I bet they're going to do the same thing for Harlequins and whatnot, and they're going to specifically limit and say, these are the things that you may soup, and this is how you're going to do that.
I hope so, dude. I really hope so, because if we get the pick a book, like you said, the Eldar book, and it says you're allowed to put the Harlequins or something else in there, and they count as 0, and just super restricted. I think that's awesome. I like it.
I agree. I think that would be good.
And then, of course, the other thing that they notated was the really, really amazing rules for the assassins, and how essentially you can just add whichever assassin you want at any point in time, like a sideboard to a Magic deck.
Exactly. This is huge.
Huge.
You now have a sideboard playing with assassins. You have 4 assassins. Take the one that you need for the game.
Exactly.
Cost 2 SCP. That's it. Swap it out.
It's perfect. It's perfect. It's the way it always should have been.
I mean, that's insane. And then 2 CP, no big deal, because they have a 0 CP stratagem.
Right. Right. Well, they have a 2 CP stratagem as well, right? No, that's
well,
the take it. That's
it doesn't matter that it costs 2.
Right. It costs 2 at the beginning to use it. Mm-hmm. And then the 0 CP is priority threat neutralized. Use the stratagem in any phase when a character model and enemy unit is destroyed by an assassin model from your army. You gain 1 command point or 2 points if the character is a warlord. You can use this stratagem once for each enemy character model destroyed.
So that's like, oh, hey, you're using the model for its purpose? Here's some free CP. Okay, cool. So my Leviathan now, when it blows stuff out of the sky, I'm going to get free CP for that?
I mean, I feel bad for people who want to play Necrons.
Why is that?
Because it's just...
all their new toys are going to get shot off the table?
Yeah, because this is just so cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think those are huge. I think those are both very radical stratagems. Very different to the game.
But more importantly, forget about the Sisters of Maiden, right? Sisters of Silence. Forget about the assassins. I think what they're showing is the structure of how armies are going to work and how building lists is going to work. And while I can see the slippery slope of too many free detachments and things like that and it getting out of hand, right now I'm really, really excited for this way of building lists. Of being able to have a sideboard. Because you have to assume that there's going to be other things that other armies are going to have to build a sideboard with. For those of you who don't know, in Magic the Gathering, you have a 60-card deck, and when you go play Friday Night Magic or any tournament that consists of multiple rounds, you bring a 60-card deck, and then you play the best of 3 or the best of 5, depending on what sort of tournament you're in. And in between each one of those rounds, you may swap up to 15 cards in and out of your sideboard, so long as that you don't break the rules of your general deck. And so these assassins are acting as a sideboard where at the end of your game, and I'm thinking about this in tournament stakes where you're playing 5 games over the course of a weekend, 3 games over the course of a day. you now essentially get to change your army on the fly depending on what you're going to face, which is great.
Well, so what I'll say about that, right, is I have a fair amount of experience with the assassins, and in a large game, they are very situational, right? And this is playing into that. But the simple fact is, a couple bad rolls and they're toast, right? Or they don't do anything.
Sure,
So
sure. But
I
that's what I'm
think
saying.
that
That's what I'm saying. Forget about the assassins and just think of the idea and hope that it now becomes part of 40K's list building, where you have these things that you can
Gotcha.
make changes with. And maybe it's not assassins. Maybe for for chaos demons, it's something else. I
Yep.
don't know.
Yeah, that was I see what you're saying, and it does have, especially for the tournament scene, like you were saying, a potentially very, very big impact. Because if you can go ahead and swap out, say, your heavy bolters for the melta-guns because you're about to fight some knights or whatever, you have the ability to really, really change, which has kind of been needed and is also very narrative, right? If you know that the knights are coming down the street, you're not going to bring your heavy bolter if you have another option.
True.
You're just not, right?
True.
So there's always been this kind of like weird intellectual disconnect, I guess, with, oh well, I'm not allowed to use the most powerful weapon or the weapon that suits me in this situation. And obviously you'd have to choose that going into the actual battle. We wouldn't want people swapping in the middle, but still, I think it's a very interesting idea. I think it's something that people may also balk at because they're like, hey, well, now I have to buy 4 dev squads instead of just 1.
If they do have that ability, I like I said, I really like the Vanguard detachment as a way to bring models in, and I hope that lays the foundation for how GW is going to move forward with dealing with multi-faction lists. I hope that it's very, very controlled, because I feel like they tried to do that with 8th edition, and then they got immediate pushback, and then they're like, oh, actually, you can take whichever detachments you want. Remember that whole thing where, like, I think it was like 6 months in, they did an FAQ and they changed the way that you could take your list creation in terms of, I think so. I'm pretty sure. And that's when you started seeing like the Supreme Command detachments getting abused, where it's like, oh, I'm just going to take the 3 best HQs from a different army and spread their beautiful abilities.
Spread their warry goodness.
All right. Well, I think that's all that we have for the new 40K, and what we have left is Aaron's Adepticon 2020 box of goodies, box of goodness. So again, Adepticon 2020 was canceled. Just so sad. But we still did get the swag, or at least Aaron got his swag. I'm gonna have to write it.
I got mine. You're still waiting on yours, right, Aaron? Did you get the VIG bag? Because this is not the VIG box.
I did not get the VIG bag, but I did add a whole bunch of things to my checkout. And honestly, I might have told him just to keep it all. The only thing I want is the 2020 coin. I got to find a way to get the 2020 coin.
I have a feeling because, I talked to Matt like right after they canceled, and he said that they probably just keep a lookout on their Facebook, because they're gonna have stuff like extra stuff. They always sell more shirts and stuff at the con. So
well, I need my coin. The coin is,
keep an eye out.
I mean, the coin, the cup, and the coaster, but the coin is at the top of that list.
Yeah. The coin's pretty fun. I always like to get the tumbler. I was thinking about getting the shot glass this year. The one thing I don't have in front of me is the bottle opener. The bottle opener is the size of my fist.
Yeah, that was crazy.
I could use that as self-defense. If someone breaks in my home, I could just slap-jack them upside the head with it.
All right, come on. Show us what's in the box. Let's see it.
All right, so first up, pretty cool poster, actually. G-Dub poster. So you want to have your chance at immortality? Stand in front of me. I actually think that's a pretty cool little poster. For any of you guys that like tank games, this is Fate of the Nation, the Arab-Israeli wars. So Not really much of a tank guy myself, but it is a big, thick book. It looks like you probably have a lot of content in there. Box set of God Tier.
Sean,
This
stop
is
stop smoking. Too much.
This is a full lineup of Steamforged games. You might know them from Guild Ball. A really fun game. I enjoyed that. Have not played this. Have not really heard much about it, but I might crack into this. These are orcs. It's kind of interesting. You got one main big orc and then a bunch of little guys. The big orc kind of looks like a World of Warcraft orc, just saying. For all you Marvel Crisis Protocol fans, I got a Venom. It's pretty cool. I'm sure Josh and Aaron is excited about that because now I got my very first own Marvel Crisis Protocol. And Venom's cool, right? I mean, he's a badass.
He's a good model in the game too.
Is he? That's good to know. I got a Keyforge deck. I think this game is really cool. I hear it's not as popular as it was a year ago, but I am stoked to play this. Hopefully, Aaron, you get your box, and then you have.
I don't like that game. I won't be playing it with you. I'm sorry.
Okay, then I'll take your deck.
Did I tell you what happened really quickly? Josh and I went to some game store, right? And the guy was like, "Oh, okay, we're gonna teach you how to play. When you play, you get a free deck, right?" And he's like, "Let me just open the decks really quick." And he opened the deck, and he was about to hand it to me. And he goes, "Oh, no, I can't give you this deck. Like, I got to give you this other deck." And at the end of the game, I was like, "Okay, yeah. So what about the deck that you were supposed to give me at the beginning, the one that was mine that you opened first to take a look at, that you said was too complicated for a new person to play?" And he was like, "Oh, well, that's actually a really valuable deck. So the one that's in front of you is the one that you get."
What? Really?
Yeah, that's some bullshit right there.
Yeah.
You got plenty of your coasters. Every year they give out some coasters. I have a collection of like 7 Adepticon coasters on my desk at all times. I have them all over the place. I like to hang on to them. Little reminder. The Adepticon pin. Let's see. Oh. Always good. And then you got your plethora of Elric Hobbies bases. He always gives out some bases every year. He has some pretty neat stuff. There are the plethora of stickers. You got all the stickers that you need. You got a Warcaster from Privateer Press's game. I don't even think it's out yet, is it? They're a little sci-fi game. Got one of their little Warcasters here, so I got that ready to go if that game ever comes out. The annual Victoria Miniatures Adepticon 2020 model. This is a Buxy lady with a melt-a-pistol. You got the kids Necron flips over to the AOS book. And then a couple other little pewter miniatures from some random games that I have not heard of. So all in all, swag bag not bad. You got the big box of God Tier, you got the Venom, you got the Keyforge, you got like a half dozen minis in here otherwise. Pretty cool stuff. It was something that, with the con not being around this year, and it is my favorite con. It's a con that I think we all love and enjoy. It was kind of nice to get it in the mail and make me remember that, like, it's always an exciting time. And even just opening up this box, I was super excited to get it.
Dude, I love Adepticon.
It is the best.
It really is. I mean, I haven't been to LVO, but I'm gonna prejudge it anyways because I don't like Vegas. You know what I mean? Like, I don't need
Fair play.
I don't need the Vegas on top of the con. I don't want to do all the Vegas things, but I will go to LVO, and I'm sure I'll have a great time. I like Nova. Nova's fun. I like Dragonfall. I liked Blood in the Sun, but Adepticon's my favorite.
For sure.
All right, well, that brings us to right about an hour. Any final thoughts on the new 40K?
I want like 3 of the starters.
Okay, but for which faction?
Both. Why not? I'll have 2 armies that I'll never paint. I still have Dark Imperium stuff that hasn't gotten painted.
Oh my god, me too. Dark Imperium, Shadow Sword, you name it. It's not painted.
Well, when are we doing our next paint chat?
Same bat time, same bat channel, Wednesday night.
Should we do an extra one on Monday without Josh?
Oh, if Josh isn't going to be there, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, man. I actually have the day off on Monday, so I'm good for whatever time. But yeah.
All right.
And of course, it's cool. So we'll just we'll figure it out.
Sounds good. Well, I hope you all enjoyed this Warhammer 40k preview / post view. Our thoughts on what's coming out. I'm very excited. I'm very excited about the new rules and the models and the books. I'm especially excited to dust off my custodes and place them back onto the table, because that has always been one of my favorite armies, and it's fully painted, which is great.
Nice. Mine are in boxes.
My Sisters of Silence are... No, I have... That's not true. I have 15. I have 15 of them done. So
nice.
So this is with my sisters. I didn't realize that they were one of the first model sets that had the unique poses, right? And that you actually needed to follow the rules. I was used to like just cutting out 100 Marines and then assembling them all. And so I cut out 50 or 60 Sisters of Silence. And then realized that I couldn't figure out how to put them together.
Oh my God. Isn't that the worst? So the one thing that I will say is you can get yourself a little bit of help. And I really like that GW does this now, but they print A, B, C, D on the matching components that go. So if you look at like the shoulder,
the sprue on the sprue.
No, on the pieces now. Look at the pieces. A lot of the pieces for the complicated models, particularly the Marines that have a whole bunch of bunch of guys.
I will.
Yeah,
check
we'll
that
have
out.
like A on the. I know I've seen it. I couldn't tell you what kit. I wonder if it was the Reavers.
You know what? There's one last thing that was way down on the bottom of that page that had the extra models. It said all those models are going to be push fit.
What? Okay. Well, I'm all right with that. That just means that they're going to do their standard, slightly easier mold, right? Not quite as detailed on some of those weird parts.
Do you think everything's going to be push fit?
I mean, if it was just the box set, all right, that's acceptable. Yeah, but all the other models that are going to come out are going to be in push fit?
No.
So wait, you're saying that the 2-person bike is going to be push fit?
Yeah, the page that had all those other models that are not in the box, at the very bottom, it says, don't worry, all these are going to be available in push fit.
Are going to be available in push fit. Maybe there's going to be variants.
No, they're not going to make 2 different boxes.
Stop doing this to me. There's only we
didn't talk about terrain, Aaron.
Oh, we didn't talk about terrain. Okay, well, we will talk about terrain in tomorrow's live stream. No, tomorrow on Monday's live stream when we do some painting.
Sounds like a plan to me.
All right, well, until next time, this has been Aaron, and Sean from the Cool Guys Nation. I don't know who's going to pick this up because Josh isn't here. But, as always, we'll see you on the...
Table?
Excellent. I'm glad you figured it out. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.